The clock is ticking, the political tension is reaching a boiling point, and our beloved franchise is standing at a massive crossroads that could alter Chicago football forever. State legislators are playing a highly dangerous game of chicken, and if they do not wake up and pass this stadium bill immediately, we might actually watch our team pack up for Indiana. Strap in, because the front office's patience has completely evaporated, and we are now mere inches away from a historic relocation. Before we dive deep into this unbelievable stadium drama and break down some massive new roster updates, please make sure to smash that like button, share this video with your fellow fans, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a beat. Have you ever truly stopped to imagine a terrifying reality where the legendary monsters of the Midway are no longer playing within the borders of the state of Illinois? That nightmare scenario is inching closer to reality every single day, and we need to talk about the absolute gridlock currently paralyzing the politicians in Springfield. Right now, the state of Illinois is essentially daring our historic franchise to walk away, and it is honestly mind-boggling to witness. According to a deeply concerning report by Eric Fisher over at Front Office Sports, lawmakers in the Prairie State are frantically scrambling to overcome intense internal divisions to strike a stadium deal, but they are fighting a losing battle against the calendar. The spring legislative session officially comes to a close on May 31st. That leaves less than 7 weeks for state leaders to build enough political consensus to push forward what is being called a megaproject bill. Let me be clear about what is at stake here. This proposed legislation is the golden ticket. It would grant the teams ownership, along with other major developers, the essential ability to negotiate locked-in local tax rates. The front office has made it crystal clear to anyone who will listen that this bill is the absolute lifeblood of their grand vision. They want to construct a breathtaking, $5 billion, state-of-the-art domed stadium in suburban Arlington Heights, and the craziest part is that they are planning to fund the vast majority of this colossal project with private money on land they already own. All they are asking for is property tax certainty, yet they are running into a massive political brick wall. If you listen closely to the words coming out of the front office, the writing is already on the wall. When team president Kevin Warren addressed the media at the recent owners' meetings, he dropped a very subtle but firm ultimatum. He stated that the organization expects to have a final decision and a concrete contract regarding the location of the new stadium by late spring or early summer. Now, if you look at a calendar, late spring beautifully aligns with that May 31st legislative deadline in Illinois. The timeline is not a coincidence. They are waiting to see if this current legislative body will step up and vote. If these politicians fail to pass the bill and secure that tax certainty before the session ends, I genuinely do not believe ownership will wait around for the next political cycle. They will simply cut their losses and move forward elsewhere. The frustration is palpable. Eric Fisher highlighted that a key House committee actually passed this critical bill back in February. However, the legislation hit a brick wall because it currently lacks the unofficial 60-vote threshold required for the Illinois Speaker to bring it to the floor for a full vote. It is political theater at its absolute worst, and while Illinois drags its feet, our neighbors in Hammond, Indiana, are waiting with wide-open arms. The political leaders over in Indiana have already swiftly and enthusiastically approved a bill to help fund a stadium project on their side of the border. Let us put ourselves in George McCaskey's shoes for a moment. He absolutely does not want his lasting legacy to be the man who moved the founding NFL franchise out of its home state. That is exactly why they purchased that sprawling property in Arlington Heights. They genuinely want to stay. But at the end of the day, McCaskey is running a multi-billion-dollar business, and sitting idle while politicians bicker is financial malpractice. The cost of building a $5 billion megadome is skyrocketing every single day they delay. They expected Illinois to be a willing partner a year ago, and instead, they were met with endless red tape. So, they looked toward Indiana to see how hard the process really had to be. In just a matter of months, Indiana found a viable site, cleared all the necessary environmental hurdles, and secured the political votes to pre-approve the project. It was seamless. Now, the franchise is looking back at Illinois with a very simple message: Indiana figured this out in 2 months, while we have been going in circles with you for years. Get it done by May 31st, or we are leaving. Both of these potential locations have incredible, undeniable perks. Arlington Heights is the absolute dream scenario. You own over 300 acres of prime real estate. You can build an absolute football utopia, complete with bustling restaurants, luxury hotels, sprawling entertainment districts, and maybe even top-tier high school playoff fields right next to the stadium. Plus, you get the massive public relations victory of keeping the team in Illinois. On the other hand, the Northwest Indiana option is an incredibly financially friendly alternative. The local government has proven to be an eager, cooperative partner, and logistically speaking, Hammond is technically a shorter drive from the actual city limits of Chicago than Arlington Heights. It is literally just a 25-minute trip across the state line. It sounds emotionally jarring to leave the state, but logistically it makes a ton of sense. So, here's my question of the day, and I need every single one of you to flood the comments section right now. Would you rather the franchise build a sprawling megadome in Arlington Heights, or should they absolutely jump the border to take advantage of that sweeter financial deal in Indiana? Drop your answers below, because I am genuinely fascinated to see where this fanbase stands on such a monumental, franchise-altering decision. Now, let us smoothly transition away from the stadium anxiety and dive into some seriously exciting draft news, because our defensive coaching staff is clearly looking to add some explosive, dynamic playmakers to the secondary. We just received word that Keionte Scott, an incredibly versatile defensive back out of the University of Miami, was recently brought into Halas Hall for a top 30 draft visit. When you turn on this kid's college tape, you are immediately blown away by his sheer athleticism and instinctual playmaking ability. He is a phenomenal nickel hybrid prospect who completely lit up the stat sheet for the Hurricanes defense last season. They utilized him heavily as a blitzer, and the raw production is absolutely staggering for a defensive back. We are talking about 13 tackles for loss and 5 incredible sacks. But he is not just a hard hitter who plays in the box, he is a legitimate ballhawk. He snagged 7 interceptions during his collegiate career, including an absolutely iconic pick-six against Ohio State. On that play, he flawlessly read a bubble screen, jumped the route with explosive speed, and housed it the other way before the quarterback even knew what happened. Add in a couple of forced fumbles and key recoveries, and you are looking at a literal Swiss Army knife that can completely transform a defensive scheme. From a physical standpoint, his athletic profile is off the charts. He boasts an insane vertical jump and possesses blazing, low 4.3 speed. He might be slightly undersized at 5'10.5" and hovering around 195 pounds, but he plays so much bigger than his frame suggests. Our front office and coaching staff have been preaching the same exact philosophy all off-season long. We have to get faster, we have to get more athletic, and we need to transition into utilizing dynamic, modern, hybrid defensive backs. Keionte Scott is the absolute embodiment of that defensive vision. Think about the talent we are already accumulating in that secondary. We recently brought in Coby Bryant, a tremendously versatile athlete who converted from corner to safety and can do a little bit of everything. We have Kyler Gordon, who already checks so many of those explosive athletic boxes. Drafting a player like Keionte Scott, or even a similar prospect like Trayden Stokes, gives you these slightly older, 24 or 25-year-old rookies who are completely polished and ready to contribute on day one. You plug a guy like Scott into the nickel, mix and match him with our current safeties, and suddenly you have a deeply athletic, chaotic secondary that is going to create absolute nightmares for opposing offenses. If he is sitting there on the board in the second round, do not be surprised if his name is called. Finally, let us wrap things up with some fun locker room housekeeping, because the team just released an official wave of brand new jersey numbers and number changes for the upcoming season. This is always an exciting little tease before training camp kicks off. The biggest headline here is that our newly acquired defensive back, Coby Bryant, is officially taking over DJ Moore's iconic number 2. There was actually a bit of fun speculation floating around about what number he would choose. Some fans wondered if Coby would try to negotiate with our kicker, Cairo Santos, to get number 8, since there is college history there. Others thought he might revert to number 24, which Ray McCloud wore last year before remaining unsigned. But Coby put an end to the rumors, officially stating that he started his football journey wearing number 2, and he is fully ready to create his own unique legacy with it here. I am incredibly pumped to see him flying around the field in that single digit. Moving down the newly updated roster, we have some other fantastic numerical upgrades. Speedy wide receiver John A. Walker is officially switching out of the 20s and stepping into number 9. Honestly, the single-digit look is infinitely smoother for a playmaker like him. On the defensive side of the ball, our hard-hitting new linebacker Devin Bush will be rocking number 12. Khalif Raymond has successfully claimed number 14, and defensive back Cam Lewis is strapping up in number 21. Over in the linebacker room, we have a great sibling dynamic going on. Nephi Sewell is grabbing number 45, which perfectly places him right next door to his brother Noah Sewell, who is holding down number 44. Local favorite and absolute tackling machine Jack Sanborn is returning to his classic, rugged number 57. Looking at the big boys up front, Garrett Bradbury is anchoring the offensive line in number 67, and our massive tackle Jedrick Wills Jr. is sliding smoothly into number 71. Rounding out the defensive trenches, we have Neville Gallimore wearing number 90, Kentavious Street securing number 93, and James Lynch bringing the heavy hits in number 97. It is definitely going to take all of us a minute to memorize these new digits once the preseason action finally kicks off, but you can feel the roster taking shape in a beautiful way. The stadium saga is reaching its absolute boiling point, the draft board is finalizing with explosive prospects, and this historic franchise is quietly gearing up for what could be an absolutely unforgettable year of football. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's massive update. Make sure you jump into the comments, answer the question of the day, and let me know your raw thoughts on this stadium drama. I will see you guys in the next one.